Good morning, everyone. I know you all are calling from different places this morning, and it's really great to see so many people kind of joining in for this workshop. I don't think I know all of you, which is really great because I love meeting new people who are interested in the tongue drum. And I know some of you have probably signed up for my courses or other workshops, so it's great to connect a little more intimately during this call. I've really wanted to spend some time focusing on different techniques that I've learned over the years to use the tongue drum for different meditation practices, for just healing rituals and sound healing. And I know some of you have already messaged me that you're interested in using the tongue drum for your own healing arts practices or just for your own self discovery meditation. So it's really neat to be able to have this time to share some things. And before we get into everything, I just want to share a little bit about my approach and what we're going to be doing today. Everything that I'm sharing is stuff that I've explored on my own through drumming over the last 20 years or so. I started drumming when I was 10 years old. And I've been playing a lot of different percussion instruments over the years, and the tongue drum is one that really stood out to me over the last couple years as a beautiful healing instrument. I play it a lot for fun, but I use it a lot in meditations and in sound healings. And the power that this drum has to just evoke sound and bring relaxation and calming energy is just really amazing. So this is something that I'm really excited to share. And my mom, who's actually on the call today, she's the one who told me about the tongue drum. Several years ago, she was like, Alex, check out this drum. And as soon as I heard it and played it, I was just hooked. So I'm sure all of you guys are familiar with that feeling that you got when you first heard the sounds of a tongue drum. So everything that we cover today, I just want you to take for your own practice. These are mostly just going to be helpful tips and guidance to get you kind of thinking in different ways of how to use the tongue drum for healings and meditations. And if anything really stands out to you, feel free to adjust it to fit your own practice. There's going to be a couple different techniques I show, but feel free to just add to it for your own use. So throughout this hour, I kind of broke this into 3 different sections so you guys know what to expect. The first part of this is going to be a review for people who have taken my course, but I really want to focus on some of the key fundamentals to playing the tongue drum. One thing that I've noticed when playing with others in classes is that when you're playing the tongue drum and you want to use it for like a healing modality, the most important thing is to be able to get the best sounds out of your tongue drum and to make them sound very beautiful and soothing. So we're going to focus on that just as a review for some people right off the bat. And then we're going to work on a few different exercises that are meditation techniques for helping yourself if you're having anxious thoughts or just feeling anxiety and just need to calm down. We're going to do a little exercise to help with that. And then the last part of the workshop, I have several different exercises for approaching the tongue drum for either meditation or for healing rituals, whether it's on yourself or if you're guiding people and others. And then we're going to spend the last 10 or 15 minutes and I'm going to open it up for you guys to ask questions. So if I explain something and you're not sure what it means, write it down or remember it because I want to hear from you guys if there's any questions at the end. So that's going to be the flow of the workshop. So to get started, I am going to actually switch gears and make sure the recording is on my overhead camera because we're going to start doing some playing on the tongue drum. So 1 second while I switch over. Okay, you should be hearing me now. Oops. Let's see. Okay. Can everyone still hear me? Can I get some thumbs up? Okay, great. So now the recording is on my overhead. Great. Okay. So I want to start off first by everyone approaching their tongue drum, whether you have it set up in your lap or on a table or on a stand. I just want us to kind of see what we're working with and approach the tongue drum getting ready to play. And I know everyone has different types of tongue drums, but one thing I want to really focus on is the shape of the tongue drum, because not everyone has these tongue shapes. Some people have them as squares, some people have them as designs. But anytime you're going to begin playing any type of tongue drum, the first thing I really like to focus on is the area of the tongue that gets the best sound. So when you're hitting your tongue drum, you'll notice if you're playing around with it, if you hit the sides of it, it's not as, you get kind of a tinny sound. Sometimes at the edge or the base of the tongue here, it's not as loud. But for the Kosmosky tongue drums, the most powerful and the sound that resonates the most is going to be right here on the tip of the tongues. And I just want you guys to be aware of that with your own tongue drum, exploring that and finding out what part of the tongue is really getting the most full vibration and resonance. So once you've found that and you realize that you have this area that's really beautiful, I want you to focus on that as the area you're going to be doing your strokes on. The next thing that is really important to think about is your mallets. And I don't know what type of mallets everyone's has. There's a lot of different ones out there. These are felt mallets. There's also rubber mallets. There's different ones that can do that. So, sorry, I got a notification. So there's rubber mallets, felt mallets, and wool mallets. There's a lot of different ones. Depending on the sound you're trying to get, you'll just consider using different types of mallets. But for today, we're going to focus on these felt ones and your grip with the mallet. One thing I've done when I've done group classes is that I watch for how people are bringing the sound out. And if you're using the tongue drum for any healing or meditation, you want to get a very beautiful, soothing, calm sound, but you want it to be powerful as well. So when you're approaching hitting a tongue drum, I want you to think about pulling the sound up and really bringing it out. So you're kind of lifting it. If you are squeezing too hard on your mallet or pressing down too much, it's going to be really muted or harsh. So this difference between like a press and a pull. So I describe this as being gentle with your strokes, yet purposeful. You don't want it to be too soft where it's just kind of not getting that full ring. It's very much you're squeezing with these two fingers and your other ones are acting as guides to the mallet. And if you're having trouble where you're noticing the mallet is like wobbly or you're not getting a really distinct hit on your stroke, one thing I want to remind people of is consider moving your hand up and down the mallet. Sometimes if you're holding it too high up, it just gets wobbly and you don't have as much control. Same thing if you're going further down. It gets wobbly and not as much control. And it just takes some time finessing this to understand where you need to squeeze and how to hold it so that you're able to go around and really do a distinct stroke and hit on the tongue drum. Now, this becomes really important later down the road. We're going to talk about this a little later, but when you're rolling and combining notes, which is also a very, very soothing type of stroke, it becomes even more important to make sure you're holding and gripping the mallets correctly, because you're not going to be able to get a roll if your mallets aren't, they're not at their equilibrium. They're not balanced evenly, and you're either coming down too hard or it's flopping around side to side. So I just want to make sure everyone is tuned in with their mallets, because this is such an important part to being able to play very soothing and just lovely music with the tongue drum. So that's the mallets. And again, when you're using them, just think about pulling the sound up. And one thing that we talked about in my courses is getting help with, if you're right hand dominant, really helping that left hand out, or vice versa. Usually there's always one hand that's a little less strong, and so you tend to, like, you know, get wobbly if you're doing back-to-back hits with right and left hand. So one just helpful tip, if you're working on that, is to turn your mallet on your left hand, or your right hand, sorry, upside down. And if you are left-handed, do this opposite. But turn your mallet upside down in your right hand, and then just practice hitting with your left mallet back to back on it. And that's going to really help hone in that ability to make sure you're really going, your stroke is going full force right in that small area. So it's a little harder if you're kind of going off to the sides. You know, it means you either need to squeeze harder or just work on just practicing that coordination. It does take some time. But if you do it on smaller surfaces, then you're able to control where it's hitting on the tongues. Okay, so we're all geared up. We got our mallets. We're ready to go. We have explored some areas on our tongue and how to really lift that sound. Now I want to talk about just how we're approaching the different notes and what they mean and how they correlate and relate with the body. So if everyone can just quickly look at their tongue drum, and I want you to just find the lowest notes. And typically the lower notes are going to be the tongues that are larger in size. So I just want us to locate our low notes, whether you have 4 low notes or 6 low notes. Just divide it up and find your really low notes. And just play these for a little bit. So these low notes, a lot of times I really tune in to where my body is feeling them the most. And for me, this may be different, but for me, the low notes I associate with the lower part of my body. So this could be your lower chakras, a different area of your aura that's just like feeling more in the lower areas, whether it's your root chakra or sacral chakra. The low notes for me, I feel that energy really going to lower parts in my body, my feet, my legs. They just feel sometimes right here in my sacral energy. These low notes are really powerful. So when I do chakra balancing, I will correlate the lower notes to a lower area. Now, this correlates obviously to the high notes as well. So the high notes, I want you to locate those, and those are going to be the tongues that are a little smaller, but we're going to locate the high notes and just play those for a little bit. So the high notes for me, if I close my eyes and play my high notes, where I feel them the most are up in my head and the higher parts of my body. And someone else is joining. 1 second. Let me let them in. Okay. So the higher parts of my body is where I really associate these higher pitched notes. And it may be different for you, but I just want you to start tuning into where you're feeling the sound go in your body. And when I do chakra balancing or just aura clearings or just getting settled and doing a body scan, whether it's just like you're physically working on your body or just you want to clear your space, I will really hone in on these low notes, starting at the bottom and slowly weaving up to the higher notes all the way up to my head. Okay, so that's going to be just our foundation for how I'm going to explain the rest of these meditation exercises, is understanding that when I'm talking about lower notes in the lower part of the body versus high notes. So the first exercise that I want us to practice with is doing a general just balancing, grounding, meditate. You can call it a meditation or just a clearing. But if you are playing the tongue drum for yourself or for someone else, if you're doing a healing on them, this is a great exercise for just getting them settled. And what it does is that it's focused on both a low note and a high note at the same time. So you're really connecting those extremes. You're getting the high notes, you're getting your head and just the top of your body, and those low notes, the bottom of your body, just to sync up. And it's almost like an introduction. You're weaving in this very slowly. So the exercise is going to be finding a low note and a high note and hitting them back to back like this. So it's going to go low, low, high. I want you all to try that. Low, low, high. And this can be with your right hand or left hand. Low, low, high. And it's kind of like, okay, here we go. We're getting settled. If you're doing a longer healing session, this is just a great way to start incorporating both sounds together. And sometimes I'll do this with myself just to kind of recalibrate. It's like, okay, I just need a little bit in both areas coming together. And I'll do this for a couple minutes. But what I like to do is go in a circle around my tongue drum. So you just do that low, low, high on all the notes, whether you have 8 notes or a 15 note tongue drum, you're just going to be going in a circle. So here's an example. Low, low, high, 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 and again, just in a circle. And if you notice, what I am doing is my right hand is leading from the very top all the way to where I get to the bottom, and then my left hand switches. And I do that mostly because it's good to get some left hand practice in there. If you feel like your hits aren't as clear or even and you're doing this healing and you just want to like really focus, you can use just one hand, but I like to incorporate the left hand in there too. It just kind of feels like it's full circle. So we're going to do that again together just for a little bit. I want you to get some practice with this. And this is a perfect time if you're introducing a meditation. This is a great intro for leading it with a guidance. So if you're using your voice or you're explaining something or helping guide someone or yourself to calm down, this is a very simple pattern that's easy to follow and allows you to not lose track while you're talking. So we're going to go through this again. Okay, here we go. So again, low, low, high, low, low, high, low, low, high, low, low, high, low, low, high. Wonderful. So to me, I already am feeling calm now and just like less jitters, and I'm like, oh, this is so nice. So this is just an example of a very easy just exercise for balance. I sometimes will do this if it needs to be like something I like in the mornings just to wake up. It's like, okay, here we go, getting that energy moving, kind of focusing my intentions for the day. But again, this can be a great just introduction to a meditation. The nice thing about this is that once you practice this, you can even start closing your eyes and just getting a feel for that motion. And you can just kind of close your eyes and let that sound just kind of guide you. Okay. So let me see. My overhead camera is frozen. Oops. Let's double check. Sorry, it may be lagging. Can everyone still see my overhead camera? Okay. It may be lagging, and I apologize about that. Hopefully my voice and the instruction is still coming through. Okay. So we're going to move on to the next section of this workshop, which is covering a few more different rituals or just rhythms that I've found work really well for meditation. And basically, I want to make sure we're really understanding how the different strokes and notes are evoking a different feeling. Because a lot of times, like when I play the tongue drum, it's really moving a lot through your body, at least for me, and different emotions or different focuses of energy can correlate with the sounds and even the notes. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to just think about approaching that. And the best way for me to think about it is understanding how the different sounds relate to the elements. And for me, I work a lot with the elements: earth, air, fire, water. If this is part of your practice, it may be familiar, but it's just how we're making these sounds connect with the elements, and that can be something that you use as a guidance for yourself or for someone else if they're working through just different needs, and we're going to talk about that. So the first one I want to really hit on is the earth element. And for me, these earth elements, the patterns are really important to be strong and steady. And to me, that is a very grounding force, a really grounding energy. And if you're connecting that with earth and playing that on the tongue drum, it can be a great pattern or sound that you use to just start getting people settled or just feeling that firmness and steadiness. And so the earth sound or earth pattern, they're just going to be single hit notes. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can do that on the low notes or the high notes, but this is going to be the earth sound. So we're going to practice just doing 4 hits in a row, back to back, on these low notes. And you could stay on one, or you could just move around. You could try doing this on the high notes, but for me, I really focus on these low notes, just being very powerful, low, steady earth energy. So we're doing low hits like this. And if it helps for you to count, that's great. You can count 1, 2, 3, 4. The important thing is just to keep that steady. And I like to do it with just one hand. So either your right hand or your left hand. It's just keeping that pulse. All right. So that's the earth sound. And for me, again, I use the earth sound a lot when I'm feeling really frazzled. If things are getting a little wild, or I'm just way too much in my head and my thoughts are going crazy, I will just sit and just play that earth tone, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, I have something to focus on. It's very calming. It's certain, it's grounding. So just an idea for maybe how you would use the earth sound. So the next one I want to talk about is air. And the air sound is going to be focused on more of your high notes. So again, we already located those, but I want us to be using both mallets for the air. And the reason is the air is a little more fluid and it's a little more pervasive, and combining both back to back and a little bit higher and faster, to me, just I start again up in the higher areas, like up in my crown chakra or just my head and the air element. I start really like allowing myself to just kind of clear some thoughts. So this is what the air element is. And if you're tuned in with percussion or just rhythm notation, I like to think of these as 16th notes. So they're going to be a little quicker paced, and I'm going back to back, right, left, right, left. All right. So it's a lot higher, but you're just going right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. Okay. And you can move around to other high notes. You don't have to just stay on 2. But these are going to be a little bit faster and high pitched. So that's the air. And the reason that we're playing these a little faster is, if anyone has done other drum meditations, you may be familiar with the 240 beats per measure, which a lot of people say that's how fast, or that's the tempo in which playing the drum can really put you in one of those just like hypnotic, relaxed states. It kind of, all of a sudden your mind kind of switches off. And that's the tempo where you can really feel like you're shifting into that relaxed state. I've had some of my best meditations when I've either done the tongue drum or a frame drum, and I'm just playing a little bit faster. The right and left hemispheres of the brain somehow just sync up, and you're all of a sudden just kind of like, vroom. So if you're thinking about like wanting to try a faster tempo, doing the back and forth, right and left, is really going to make that easier. And sometimes, again, I will close my eyes while I'm meditating and using this, and you can experiment on your own, the speed, but if you do this for just even like a couple minutes, at least for me, I just feel like a sensation that comes on, and it's almost like, vroom, like it just kind of lets me go into that space and really allows me to relax a lot faster. So again, that is the earth, or sorry, we did the earth, which are these single notes on a right or left hand. And then we had the air, which are 16th notes going back and forth on the high notes. Okay. The next one I want to talk about is water. And this is when we're going to start doing rolls. So I've talked a lot about rolls in some of my courses, but for water, what I really like to do is combine a low note with a high note and roll them together. And again, when you're rolling, you really want to allow some sort of bounce or vibration where you're getting a little bit of a buzz. Zzz, 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 zzz. And you're allowing that note to just get several hits of vibration, and then combining that with your right and left hand together. All right, so you're pretty relaxed and you're just letting the mallets kind of fall onto the tongue, but you're allowing them to bounce. And again, you're not pressing, they're not getting stuck, they're freed up, and you're still pulling the sound up. But for me, this is where I associate water. And again, you can do a high note with a low note and move around your drum. And this is, for me, all of a sudden is just like this beautiful combination of a high and a low note together. So working on blending those very evenly is going to be key for just a very soothing sound. So just work on experimenting with that. And this water element, you know, can be associated with your emotions, your solar plexus, just your feelings. If you're just having a lot of feelings and just needing them to move through and out, these rolls, just sitting here and rolling and combining different elements, just can be very nice. So that is the water. The next one we're going to talk about is the fire element. And this one is such a fun one. I use this a lot. It brings spark to the sound. You're getting this spark, and it's a sense of action or creativity or just evoking just whatever you're trying to manifest. I like to think of it that way. It's just like you're creating that force with the sound, and it's coming out of the tongue drum. So the fire element, also you're going to use both mallets, and you're also going to use a low note with a high note. Again, I love that combination of the spark, but you're going to be hitting them together. And I like to talk about this in percussion terms because it's helpful if people already know what a flam is. But a flam is when you're hitting one note slightly before the second note. So sometimes I'll do a low note and the high note just comes slightly after that. It's like a ring. It's a pivot. Brum, brum. And this is, to me, this fire. And just doing back-to-back hits like this can be really nice. And you can experiment with that, whether you want the left hand to drop before the right hand or the right hand to drop before the left hand. This is an exaggerated motion of what my mallets are doing. Boom, boom. So think of it as like a cradling. You're kind of going like this. All right. And so that is going to be fire. And we're going to stick with just these 4 elements today. My goal is in future workshops to bring in a couple more and really combine these. But this is just a framework for you to think about, okay, what am I feeling today? What am I trying to evoke? Which elements or sounds might help that move through me or through someone else? So thinking of using those patterns and those sounds into a meditation. And so the one I really want to talk about today is how to weave in a couple different ones into a meditation or a drum healing. If you're doing this for sound healing on people, some people tell me they use this in their yoga classes, like at the end when people are just laying on their mat, they'll bring in a tongue drum and they'll play either at the beginning or the end. So there's a lot of ways to kind of like help center someone's body by using all these different sounds in combination with each other. And the one that I think, this combination that I've found works the best for me is what I call keeping the pulse. And the reason I call it that way is because the right hand is going to be that earth element, and it's going to be keeping things really steady. So if you have a drum and you know that your low note that you really like is in a certain position, feel free to adjust that. For me, when I'm playing the pulse in a meditation, I like for my lowest note to be right here on my right because I'm right-handed, and it's helpful for me to just keep things steady right here. So maybe you're left-handed and you want your note here, maybe you like it higher up or lower, but feel free to rotate your drum with whatever position is the most easiest, because I actually do this with my eyes closed. It helps me for my meditation. You leave yours open, but if I know where that at least pulse rhythm is going to be, I can easily close my eyes and just keep it really steady. So your right hand, for an example, this is just an example exercise, is going to be doing the pulse, while your left hand is coming in and doing a variety of other things. And when I do my meditation, I like to include all of the elements and all of those sounds together. It just, to me, is more dynamic and a holistic approach of like getting all the sounds moving through me. So I'll start with my right hand and we'll do earth. And my left hand comes in and is doing a couple other things. So I want you to experiment with your left hand moving while your right hand is staying very steady, okay? And you can play together or separate. This is a flam. This is the earth combined with the fire, right? And then you can do alternating and bring in air, but that right hand is still staying steady. All right, so that was earth with air. All right, and then sometimes you'll still keep it steady, but you can add in rolls. Again, my right hand is still doing the same pulse. It just went from a basic stroke to a roll stroke. And we're combining the water now into that. Okay. And then back to this steady earth. Okay. And so that's just an example of how you can combine all of the elements together while you're playing. And the reason I love this the most is because I've tried a lot of other types of meditation where I'm just sitting and focusing on my breath. And I love that. It works well. But what I found is that I can get to that calm, relaxed space a lot quicker when I bring in the tongue drum, whether it's during the whole thing or just at the beginning. Whatever it is if I start playing this, the tongue drum, all of a sudden, like I'm just in that space a lot quicker. And I don't have to spend the 20 minutes or whatever it takes for me to sit there and just let my mind rattle for a while until it calms down. The tongue drum just automatically, it's like, oh, okay, I'm here. And so that's why I've really been drawn towards using the tongue drum for meditations. It just somehow like gets my mind in that really relaxed space. So this was just an example of, again, how to combine those elements. And you can do any combination or order or pattern. You could just focus on the rolls, but that was just an example of evoking all of them together in a different combination. And a lot of times I'll try to just do this, close my eyes if I can, and just move around the tongue drum for about 5 minutes. And then I will just stop and I'll be at that point where I can just sit and breathe. But whatever it is the tongue drum got me to that place. So a lot of times I will use this at the very beginning. So those are just a few just examples of different patterns and strokes and rhythms and sounds that I think are helpful to just kind of give a framework. But I really want to make sure I'm answering any questions that you guys may have or any other feedback on different, exercises you're interested in. So I'm going to I'm going to unmute everyone and people can either raise their hand or just in the chat or out loud ask any questions, and we can walk through a couple different just answers together. And I'm going to change back to the other camera view. So let me just get that figured out really quick. Okay, so I should be back on my full screen. There we go. And here we are. Okay, let me make sure everyone can unmute themselves. Okay, great. So I think we're in a good place. Does anyone have any thoughts or questions on just the material we went over just now?
Hello.
Oops. Go ahead.
Hello, Alice. How are you?
Hi, good.
Yes, I really think this complements your online courses.
Oh, great.
And I am so glad that you went to that next level to do this.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, I'm a mindfulness meditation practitioner as well as a teacher. I'm also a clinical massage therapist. That's the reason why I'm in all black, because I'm going to a resort today. So I'll be a little lighter next time, hopefully. But I'm just, hey, nice to meet you and glad that you have decided to do this online.
Oh, thank you so much. Herbert, is that you? Okay, hi. Yeah,
Yeah.
your screen's really small. Thank
Okay.
you so much. That's great to hear. Did you have any other questions or just you're popping in to say hey?
I'm just popping in to say hey.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right. Mom, do you have a question? Oh, you got to unmute yourself. Yeah.
Okay, hi. It's good to see everybody. Yeah, I'm Alex's mom, and I'm a therapist. I'm a marriage therapist, family therapist, and I also do, I have a program called Fierce Feminine Fire where I do women's empowerment workshops and classes and drum circles. I lead drum circles. So yeah, this is just such a great complement to what I do, because I do healing, sound healings also. Alex and I have many, many interests in common. And my question is, you know, doing the rolls, when you do the rolls, are you holding the sticks a lot looser? Are you holding your mouths a lot looser? Because it seems like I have to, in order to get them to bounce, I have to go from this to just maybe holding it like this to let them bounce. Is that a good method, Alex? Is that?
Yeah, and one thing I've noticed is there's actually two ways that I think are really good to think about rolling for your grip. Some people naturally go where their hand is right above and their thumb is to the side, and that's a really great grip. The one thing though is if you're gripping this way, make sure your fingers aren't getting too loose where your pinkies are flying out, because if I tried to roll like that, it would be a lot more muffled and dampened. These fingers are actually engaging with my mallet very lightly. So you're not squeezing and you're not letting them fly out, but they are engaged and they're just kind of being cradled.
Okay.
So it is loose, but just don't let them fly out too much, because then it starts getting wobbly. But another way that some people like to roll is actually to flip your mallets up, or flip your palms up, I guess I would say, and your thumbs are now on the top. And this is a French grip. This is more of a traditional American grip, but this is called the French grip when you're playing drums. And you can actually, some people find it a lot easier to control the roll with your thumb on top. It's a little more natural for some people. And so your thumb is more guiding it and still letting it bounce. but you're not as worried about, you know, these fingers as much. They're still gripping, but the thumb and the pointer finger are what's really like guiding that. So that's just
Right.
another way to try it if you're wanting to play around.
So if I can ask one more thing. So if you're doing it in the proper way where it's looser, are you actually feeling this like hitting, like bouncing on the inside of your hand?
Yeah, so
Sort of like bouncing a little bit on the
yeah,
inside?
exactly. So some
Yeah.
people have
So it's-
shorter or longer mallets, but when I'm rolling, it is kind of just
Bounce.
tapping my palm here. It's
Good.
just a nice tap. So if you're getting that tap, that's good. It means your stick is really balanced in your hand because it's able to hinge.
Great. I think I'm doing it right. Thank you.
Question, Mom. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Someone in the chat just asked, can the tongue drum complement a group sound healing using crystal bowls of various tones? And yes, I actually, I have a friend here in town that also does sound healing, and I've drummed with her, and she uses her crystal bowls and the tongue drum at the same time. And my goal is actually to do a class with her where she's doing the crystal bowls and I'm doing the tongue drum. So I'll have some more to share once we test that out, but I do know that people are incorporating both. One thing that I just think of immediately is you need to really understand what scale your tongue drum is in and making sure that at least some of the notes on your crystal bowls are complementary. Or depending on how many crystal bowls you have, I would just experiment with how they sync up. So if they're in a harmonious scale, and so you're not getting that kind of harsh dissonance if you're hitting like a sharp or a flat on your tongue drum with a note with your crystal bowls or crystal balls, sorry, crystal bells. So that's kind of, yeah, my thought process on that. But I have seen people that have used both in tangent with each other, and it sounds really lovely. Another question just came in. How can I better improve my coordination? Okay, this is a great question. Again, when I started drumming, I noticed that my left hand was always behind my right hand. And I also, you know, when you're starting to play different patterns and you have one hand doing one thing and the other hand doing something else, it takes some time to really sync those up. So I like to do a lot of different exercises where I'm just strengthening my sense of rhythm with different coordination patterns. And this can be switching where you're leading with your left hand more than you normally would. So maybe the earth element, you're going on your left hand and just trying your right hand out. The main thing that I think is a really good exercise is the ability to play one hand with a steady beat and the other hand be doing something else. And I actually have several rhythm challenges where I help people with different patterns and coordinating. There's no drums involved. It's just your hands on your laps. And to me, this is a great way to just focus on coordination with not thinking about, oh, are my mallets balanced or am I hitting the drum right? It's literally a coordination exercise. I can send a link to some of those when I send out this video, but I post them on my Instagram page. They're called Rhythm Challenges. And I try to post them every so often where I'm just helping people practice different patterns where their left hand's leading or right hand's leading. And these are just really helpful to just kind of weave into your practice just to get that coordination. So it takes time. But if you just keep practicing different patterns with your different hands leading and following, I think that's a great place to just start. Okay, another question. Have you noticed a difference in quality of meditation if you move at a faster tempo or do you tend to play more slowly? Do you hang on to a few notes and let them ring, or do you incorporate runs of notes into your playing? Oh, I love this question. So my first just answer to this is when I just went around and did these exercises, I was kind of playing at a very steady tempo, and there was no rests. And I do think that letting the sound ring longer can help in a lot of ways. When I do my sound healings, I usually do this more where I play a note and then I just let it ring out fully before I play the second one. And that space in between the notes, that space has a lot of emphasis and allows the mind and the body to just receive it a little more fully. So don't feel like you have to be just playing really fast all the time. Allowing time for rest and space is really beautiful as well. So don't discount, just hitting one note or doing a couple and then resting for a couple beats and then coming back in. So that's one answer to the question. The other one is the tempo question, which I play around with this a lot. Me personally, I notice that my mind can just tune off and just calm down a lot faster when I play my high notes at a faster tempo. And that's just for me. I know if I am just like kind of in a weird like anxiety or just having a lot of pressure or stress, I just need my mind to just turn off. And for me, the high notes, doing that back to back just helps with that. But experiment for yourself. You may notice that just these slower ones, these more grounding low notes are what you need. It just depends on what you need at that time. So I hope that answered the question. Awesome. Are there any other questions? You can add it to the chat or share.
Can I add something?
Oh, yeah.
Let me can you tell us a little bit about your drum? Because it is a really special type of Kosmosky, and I want to get one eventually, but tell us, because the sounds are so amazing.
Oh yeah, I'm glad you asked that, because in a lot of my previous courses, I've used this 9-inch tongue drum, and these have 8 tongues, 8 different notes, and they are wonderful. I love just these. These are very approachable, very simple. There's 8 notes, and they're just their standard tongue drum. But Kosmosky came out recently with what they're calling a duvatone. So this is a duvatone, and they call it that because there's a slit in the tongue, and you're actually getting this slight kind of dissonance between the 2 notes that's cut in half. So to me, the sound just feels a lot more resonant and powerful. It's also a lot louder. There's more holes in the tongue drum, and these slits are just making the sound kind of, in my opinion, they kind of fizzle up more. This one has 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 10 notes. It's still in the B minor, but it's just a little bit larger. And for me, when I started doing drum healing sessions on people, I started using this one more just because the sound is a lot it's louder, it carries a little further, and the notes are just so like resonant and clear. So if you're, thinking about different tongue drums, there's so many different out there. Just considering like the circumstance and which ones you would need for different reasons. So, anything else? I know we are getting close to the time, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time today. So I'd like to just thank you all for being here. I will stay a little bit longer in the chat and the video if other people do have questions and you didn't get to ask. I'll tune in a little bit longer, but for those that need to leave and get going with your day, I just want to thank you again for being here and joining in, and just being great at like being part of this. And your questions are so helpful for me. And anything you have that you are still working through or curious about, feel free to email me. I'm always trying to like explore more and put out more content that's based on what people are asking about or curious about. So just feel free to follow up, and I will send out the recording to this later today, so you all will have a copy. So yes, thanks again for everyone for coming, and happy tongue drumming. It's great to connect with more people that are just really interested in this drum. So awesome. Goodbye. I see some people signing out. Thanks again. Thank you, Michael. All right. Okay. Thanks, Mom. Good to see you. Great. Hey.
I did have another question. So I have a drum that's similar to yours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the, I don't know if you can see, it's the 11A. So it's got like the low note in the center, but
Cool.
they're arranged in a circle. But I've noticed, it came with
Oh,
a
yeah.
rubber plug on the bottom. Do you have a preference of using it or not? Or I don't know if it really changes, I guess, the quality of the tone coming out.
Yeah, that's so cool. So is that a Kosmosky too?
It is.
That's cool. I love that. Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Yeah, I think this one has kind of become the, what is it, like the new tone or something? It's the same pattern of tongues. But this was the 11A that they came out with about 1.5 years ago.
Oh, nice. Oh gosh, yeah, they always have some really cool ones. Mine all have the hole or the bottom cut out too, and I have some other tongue drums that have the plugs in them. I tend to always keep mine out. I've noticed that when I put them in, it just makes the sound a little, well, if you're going for that, but it's just a little tighter. The sound is a little tighter where the notes aren't as blending. They're more distinct. And to me, the plug just kind of allows the sound to not be spreading and weaving as much. I kind of like the blending, so I keep mine out, but I think it's more preference. I don't know if that's really like meant for, like, I don't know if do you play with this on the table or do you have a stand?
I don't have a stand. I just play with it on my lap. So
yeah. I think some people play directly on a table, and so they put that pad in there to allow for, if you don't want that sound to bounce bounce back up, it kind of helps cut that from the bounce. So
okay.
I always take my plugs out, but I think it's more for preference.
Thank you.
Yeah. Where are you calling from?
I'm in Western Mass in the Pioneer Valley.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, it's so neat that people are calling from all over. That's
Mm-hmm.
yeah. How long have you been playing the tongue drum for?
About 1.5 years,
Okay.
since I got it, but admittedly, I haven't spent a ton of time with it. I bring it out from time to time, but it's I've taken it to a few events, and the reaction's always the same. One, they call it a spaceship. But everyone's just like, what is that sound? It is so magical. And I'm thinking, what if I could maybe offer a sound healing or something using this? So it's got the gears turning.
Oh yeah. Same reaction I get with people, like no matter the age or who they are, everyone's like, oh my gosh, that sounds. So I think, yeah, it's definitely for people to have that reaction, it kind of is a testament to like just the beauty and the sound it has. So that would,
Mhm.
if you do start using them for sound healings, let me know. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hi, I just wanted to share with you. Again, I'm calling from New York,
Oh, yeah.
and I bought my first Kosmowski when I retired almost 4 years ago. And I felt that I needed to add something to my practice. I became an acupuncture detoxification specialist. And once a week, I run a group called Healthy Happy Hour. And I conjured up my bravery and I brought my drum with me one day.
Oh,
And as people were sitting there with their ear needles in their ears, I played some tongue drum.
wow.
And other than taking a couple of the courses that they offer through Kosmowski, I was kind of self-taught, but it was a hit. And I want you to know that what I learned today, I really want to practice and bring that to my workshops. And I think that you're a fabulous teacher, and I really want to thank you.
Oh, thank you, Joanna. That's so nice for you to share. Yeah,
Thank you.
I've been on a journey with a lot of different drums too, and the tongue drum has remained one of those that just stays really like steady with me throughout like different times of, the
Right.
year and what's going on. So, oh, that's so great to hear that you're
Yes.
using it.
So here's well, that's just a little bit about what I do, but here's my very crazy question. Okay.
Okay. All
During the height of the pandemic, I convinced myself that I needed another drum. So I did buy a Duvatone from
Oh,
Kosmowski.
Mhm.
And my crazy thought, and I tried it twice. And of course, I was thinking about combining my two drums. And could I play them both in one kind of session? It hasn't gone well yet, but maybe next time I'll share with everyone how that's going.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. I actually play multiple at the same time because I have
Oh.
3 9-inch ones that are in compatible scale. I have the Grace B minor, the Astral B minor, and the D major.
Oh,
And
wow.
we will sometimes have my right hand on one drum and the left hand on the other. And I think it works great. And it's just more fun. You get more notes. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, definitely keep trying that out and see what
I
comes
will.
out.
Thank you. I thank
So
you.
cool. Awesome. Great. Well, yeah, I hope you both have a good rest of your day, and I hope to connect at some other point down the road if I do these again. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing and your questions.
Thank you. Hope you do continue. You're wonderful. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, you guys. Bye.